In the Minnesota House, members have pre-filed 278 bills for consideration once session gets underway February 25th. One of those is to provide a tax exemption for adoption assistance. Here to discuss that proposal, we have Representative Pat Garofalo. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
So Representative Garofalo, let's begin with what is adoption assistance?
Many employers in Minnesota have a long tradition of supporting families through adoption assistance. And what this means is a family goes out and adopts, the employer will actually provide assistance, help pay for some of those costs associated with it. And currently under federal tax law, that is not a benefit that is taxed. So in other words, the employer can provide this benefit to the employee, no taxes are paid on it. Unfortunately in Minnesota, because of the actions of the last legislature, that is now subject to taxes in Minnesota. So many of the employers in Minnesota who provide this assistance, families who have participated in these programs, are now being hit with a big tax bill because they went out and adopted. In my own district, I know of two families, one in which they adopted twin brothers, and they're being subjected to a state tax. And this is really foolish policy. Everyone supports adoption, everyone promotes it. It makes no sense for us to tax it.
So you've talked a little bit about the issue. Why do you think it's so important to conform to the federal standards?
For various reasons. Number one is that from simplicity standpoint, it just doesn't make sense to have people required to have extra costs for accounting or tax attorneys to file for two forms. Standardization really is the easiest thing to do. But second of all is there's a cost to compliance. In addition to the actual higher tax bill that families have to pay for, just having to pay for these services when they really should be able to do it on their own, it's just destructive tax policy. Even though the legislature raised taxes by over $2 billion last year, it shouldn't be something that's so complicated that in addition to paying higher taxes, families have to pay for tax attorneys as well.
So how much revenue would the state lose if indeed this is repealed?
Less than $1 million. And so the sad thing about this is that right now in the state of Minnesota, what the legislature and the governor have decided is there's plenty of money to pay for abortions, but we don't have the money to pay for tax conformity for adoptions. And I think that's something that Minnesotans really disagree with.
16 states do have some form of an adoption credit at this point, but there are only a couple of states that are ranked in the top 10 states for numbers of adoption that fall in this range. So why do you think Minnesota should join this minority of states, this minority number? Why should we be a part of that group?
Well, there's a broad consensus across Minnesota society that adoption is a good thing, that we like it, we support it, and I think it's a responsible role of government to be promoting that and incentivizing it, not discouraging it. And so as this session moves forward, I'm hoping that we'll be able to do all of the federal tax conformity. Unfortunately now under Minnesota law, people who've had their homes foreclosed on and they participate in a short sale, that's subject to state taxes now. We've had some business-to-business sales taxes, and hopefully we can get these items repealed and we can have a little bit more of a friendly tax code.
I do want to ask, in your press release on this issue, it pointed to easing the burden of Minnesota taxpayers given the budget surplus. So as you look ahead to taxes you'd like to see rolled back, and you just mentioned a few, where does this fall on the priority list, in your opinion?
In my opinion, this should be one of our top priorities. Again, we're talking about adoptions. We're literally, these decisions to adopt involve saving young boys and young girls' lives. And I think this is something that everyone can support and get behind. I'm very pro-life. I very much, it's an important issue to me on a personal level. And I think as a society, we value life. For me, this is one of the top priorities of this session. We have the money laying around. Candidly, we should have conformed last year so this problem never happened. At the very minimum, let's just solve this problem so it doesn't happen to more families going forward.
So have you spoken with the House tax chair at all?
I haven't talked to the tax chair, but historically she's been in favor of federal conformity. There's some fighting within the Democrat Party here. As everyone knows, the Democrats are in total control, so there's some divisions within their ranks, but I'm hoping they see the common sense of this proposal.
Okay, Representative Pat Garofalo, thank you for taking some time to talk to us about this issue. We'll track it next session.
My pleasure, thank you.